Squishies, Thick Waifu here, and today I'm going to be doing a review and kind of a swatching of Primark's new Alice in Wonderland beauty series. Now there's a lot more things in the series than I do have, and if you do like this and if you like Alice in Wonderland or you're just a bit of a beauty person, it's highly recommended to check them out because I've not really opened them yet. Well, I've looked at them, I've looked at the palettes, I've looked at the lipsticks, I've kind of made sure that everything's there and okay, kind of thing, but overall I haven't put any of it on yet, and I'm so excited to see what they look like, to test out the colours and everything like that. So without further ado, let's get on to the first product. So the first product that we're going to have a look at is one of the lipsticks. Now, I only saw one colour when I was in my local Primark, which is in Newcastle. There may be more colours, I may have just been blind, but this is the only one that they had in this style of tube. Now, looking at the tube, it is a heart-shaped, and it's the same on the inside as well. And the design of the tube is really, really nice. The bottom is very reminiscent of the Golden Afternoon scene in the Disney movie, and right next to Painting the Roses Red, Golden Afternoon was one of my favourite songs from the movie. I absolutely loved it. So that's it's a really good design choice there. And it has Alice in Wonderland just kind of printed on the front. And colour-wise, this is pink. It doesn't really specify what shade of pink. I mean, looking at it, it almost looks like a baby pink, but I'll judge that in a moment. But what really sold it for me is not only the shape of the lipstick, because it is in a heart shape, which I'll show you guys in a moment, but the top of the cap as well has a nice printed golden Alice on it. And it's very shiny, it feels quite well made. Overall, it's so far so good for me. Let's have a look at the lipstick itself. So, right away I can tell you that mine's a little bit dented because it kind of shifted around in the bag. The main problem I'm seeing, now this isn't a bad thing per se, it is just a bit of a, maybe could have done this a little bit differently, and it is, you would have to put the cap on in a very specific way. You would have to kind of match them up together so that the heart shape on the lipstick doesn't get damaged, it doesn't get wrecked in any way. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it is just, we need to be a bit more particular about when we put your cap on and everything, because you can't just go whoop, bang, right back on there. As far as the colour goes, it sort of looks like a dusty pink, to me anyway. It might be appearing different on the camera, but that is the colour that we're sort of seeing at the moment. It almost looks like a baby pink on the camera, so it might be a baby pink, it might be a dusty pink, we're about to find out. So, I'm going to do some swatches on this arm because it's about big enough for everything. So, as far as the colour go, let's do a couple of swipes. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to put the cap on as well just to be safe. So, colour-wise, we are looking at a very nice babyish pink. Now, pigmentation-wise, it's quite pigmented. I know I had to do a couple of swipes on my wrist, but that is because it's my wrist, it's not going to go on straight away as it would on my lips kind of thing. But overall, with the two swipes that I did do, the colour pigmentation is great. It went on a little bit oily, but again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially considering, you know, it is Primark makeup. We're not going to get, let's say for example, we're not going to get Urban Decay, Jeffree Star, Sugar Pill level of quality, you know, that kind of thing. But overall, I actually really like it. It looks quite shiny as well, and it almost looks like it's got some glitter in it. But that just might be me. So overall, the lipstick gets a pass. I like the design, I like the little touches on the lipstick colour itself because it's very reminiscent to the Queen of Hearts, obviously with the heart shape it's going on and things like that. So overall, I like it, and if there's more colours available, then it's definitely worth checking out. On to the next product. The next product that we're going to look at is a small mini lipstick trio set. Now, what really sold me for this was, again, the background is very reminiscent to the Golden Afternoon scene, which I think is very colourful. It's quite saturated as well, but it's not completely in your face about it. Alice herself on the box does look quite saturated. She looks a bit darker than maybe she does in the movie, but again, that might just be the case of how it's done on the box and stuff. It's not a bad thing, again, because it's beautifully printed. The lipsticks themselves, they do show you the lip colors that you get on the bottom of the box. And the colors themselves, they're quite different to what I would normally wear. But because they're quite neutral sort of thing. There's nothing too dark, too light, and that kind of thing. So looking at the tubes, they are very different from the first lipstick that I showed you. They are more of a chapstick sort of shape. And the designs themselves, they have Alice on the front as well as the Alice in Wonderland logo as well. Or it could be that's the back, that's the front, or that's the back and that's the front. But either way, they're very minimalist, and I think that sells it for these. Now, as far as the colors go, obviously we get a selection of 3, if I'm honest, quite nice looking colors. There's nothing incredibly gaudy about them either, which I do like and I can appreciate. So the first color that I'm gonna swatch, this one is called Rose. So the caps themselves, they are quite small, so they might be a little bit difficult to take off. But if you're patient and you take your time, I say that, I think I'm squeezing the actual thing as well, so that's not helping anybody. They are a little bit hard to take off, but then again, they are quite small. They are mini lipsticks, bear that in mind. But the rose color, oh, the rose color is very, very nice. You can see it just under the original pink lipstick. That's it there. And color-wise, again, it looks really, really good. And that was just after one single swipe. So that is something for me that it gets an A star for that alone. It's very pigmented as well, and I like that in lipsticks. I like when it's pigmented, very. And again, it goes on a little bit oily, but I think that's what makes it, because it almost looks a little bit glittery as well. Overall, I'd have to say that the rose is a pass. This was rose. So yeah, rose is actually quite good. So we're gonna move on to peach now. Now peach is actually a bit of a dark one, actually. So let's have a look. There we go. Yeah, peach is a relatively dark one, but not too dark sort of thing. And obviously the cap, you just saw me take off that cap, no problem at all, so it's easier to take off there. And again, the color itself is just that one there. So the color itself, it is quite dark, but it's not dark and it's not too dark so that it kind of takes away from the rest of your face sort of thing. Not that I have much of a face of makeup to begin with, because I've just done basic eye makeup today. But overall, again, I'm really impressed with the peach color. Again, very saturated, quite oily, but again, it feels okay. It doesn't feel incredibly caked up, so to speak. Unlike my throat, which is ugh. Overall, again, much like the rose color, this gets a pass. So now, we're gonna move on to raspberry. Now, raspberry looks like a red to me, and red colors, and most of the time, red colors and my lips never really mix because they're always either too bright, too light, or they just look gaudy. So I'm hoping I get some good results with this. So, as far as the raspberry, ooh. Now the raspberry itself, it is more of a darker red, I'd say. So it definitely could suit people who are looking for a good red lipstick. I will show the colors here. Hopefully they do show up well enough on camera. So here we have obviously the top lipstick, which you saw before, and then we've got the rose, following on to the peach, and then finally moving on to the raspberry color, which I've just marked a little on my wrist there. Overall, again, the color's very saturated, and the red is just red enough that it should suit everybody without being too dark, too light, too bright kind of thing. It's a very nice, simple, toned-ish down red, if that's even a word. overall, I have to say, the mini lipsticks as well, they get a pass because they're great quality. They don't feel cheap as well. That is what I like about Primark's makeup. It never feels incredibly cheap. Obviously, as far as makeup goes, you do get what you pay for, so keep that in mind. But overall, these are really good quality, which is fantastic. So, now that the lipsticks are out of the way, it's time to move on to the next product. So the next product that I'm going to show you guys is going to be the hairbrush. Now, the hairbrush itself, it's quite a nice paddle style brush. So it's nice and big. It'll be, you know, good enough to get through your hair and everything. The design itself, again, much like the Trio lipstick box, it is very reminiscent to the Golden Afternoon. I will bring it closer for you guys to see if my camera will focus. There we go. Now, what I really like about this is, again, you've got Alice on the front, just here, and you've also got the Alice in Wonderland logo in some lovely kind of gold lettering sort of thing that's not too shiny either, so I really do like that. But on the front of it, however, or rather the back maybe, you have, again, this beautifully printed Golden Alice, which she's very shiny. She's not as shiny as she was on the lipstick, but it is still reminiscent to what we've seen on the lipstick, which is a very nice silhouette sort of feel. Now the brush itself, it feels quite tough, but I like that because it means I'll get through my hair. Now, I'm gonna give a quick test. Now, bear in mind I have a bit of a tassel headband situation going on, so, oh, and I've been out in the wind, so, uh-oh. Actually, that goes through quite smoothly. That's really good. Like, overall, like, it's easy to use. It's a hairbrush. What can we do? But it doesn't pull on my hair, which is a great thing because, in case you haven't noticed, I dye my hair quite a bit. This is the result of maybe, I can't remember what colours I did. I'm gonna have to do it at some point. So my hair is quite damaged, so it can sometimes be a bit hard to brush, but overall, this went through really, really smoothly. It didn't really pull anything out. Obviously, you do have the loose hairs fall out here and there, but nothing to an extreme measure. The brush itself, it feels really good as well. It's not your usual kind of weird, cheapy style material, but it feels really nice. I think this is plastic as well, but it doesn't feel like a cheap plastic. So overall, again, I'd have to say, much like the lipsticks, the hairbrush, it's a nice design, it's practical, and it does what it says. It's a hairbrush. So overall, I kind of want to give this one a 10 out of 10 because, again, the design is beautiful, it's tastefully done, and the fact it's not an all-over print kind of sells it for me because you've got this lovely design on the front, and then while you're doing your hair and everything, you can just focus on brushing your hair rather than being distracted by the pretty pictures. Which, it sounds a bit strange, but what can we do? So we're going to move on to the final product. So the final product that I'm going to show you guys is one that I was absolutely excited about. I could not wait for it. And it is the Looking for Wonderland palette. Now, the box for this I love because, again, it's very reminiscent to Golden Afternoon, but this time we have Cheshire Cat. And I love the Cheshire Cat. He's so adorable. And we've also got the classic scene where Alice is looking at the Cheshire Cat and that kind of thing. The box itself, again, it's very reminiscent to Golden Afternoon, which I love. So let's have a look on the inside. Oh, I just dropped it. Ooh. I'm pleasantly surprised. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It is literally the Golden Afternoon scene. And you're about to see my camera. Hello, camera. Hello! I love the Golden Afternoon scene. It was probably one of my top sort of scenes in the movie. I love it. The flowers are cute, apart from when they kind of turn on Alice, so it's nice. The colours of the palette are very nice. They're quite warm autumn style tones. I'm particularly taking a liking to this fuchsia sort of colour here because I like my pinks, I like my golds and bronzes and that kind of thing. So these immediately stick out for me. Now, I'm not going to swatch every single colour because that will just take me a bit of a while, and I want to kind of give a bit of an in-depth review for as many colours as I can. Now you would have seen this purple, this is white, this little white ribbon sticking out, and that pulls out to what I think is some general kind of contours and highlighters and that kind of thing, but you also get a couple of lip glosses in here as well. So let me just pull this closer to the camera. And with the sort of highlighters and contours, I tend to use those as kind of eyeshadows as well, because normally they do work as both. You can use them as contours and some highlighters as well, even though I have no idea how to contour, no highlight. That is something I still need to learn myself. Overall, again, the colors, they're really good. There's a decent selection of them as well for a Primark palette. So the only kind of quip I have about them per se is just I would have liked to have had some names for the colors. To kind of give an example, here I have Primark's Spell On You palette, which I believe I got in the Halloween range about last year. And as you can see, it's generously used, so please don't judge me. But as you can see, all of the colors have names to them. For example, you've got Dream here, which is that nice sort of purple color. You've got Bewitched, Abracadabra, Fairy Tale, Mystic, which is one of my favorites. You've generally got a mix of a lot of obviously magical themed colors going on in there, and that's what I would have liked to have seen with the Alice palette. But to be quite honest, it'll be fun making up my own names for them. So I'm kind of thinking this little gold one here, Golden Afternoon. Oh yeah, I did it. I'm terrible. I'll see myself out. Never mind, I'm back. So, as far as the colors go, I'm gonna swatch the fuchsia color that I showed you before to start with. Which I think I need to put a little bit more on my finger. Yeah, that's good. So I have fuchsia on my finger now. I'm gonna have to wipe that. But overall, the color itself is beautiful. Now you're probably gonna see some of the lipstick there. I've just had to quickly scrub that off my arm. But overall, the fuchsia, it did take a little bit on my finger to kind of get the color there. But overall, it's really pigmented. It looks good. It's not shiny either. It looks quite metallic in the pan, but on my arm it looks quite matte, and that is a good thing. I don't want something incredibly shiny in such a vivid color sort of thing. Overall, so far, it's a pass. I like it. Next color I kind of want to review is going to be this sort of emerald green that you're seeing at the top here, because I'm a fan of Wicked. I like Wicked, and this is a very nice green. So, that is shiny, but it is good. Okay, so the emerald green itself, it comes exactly like you would see it in the pan. It's very, very pigmented. That only took one swipe, and that is amazing. That's brilliant for me. It does have some shine to it, but that is because it looks like it is a metallic green rather than just a matte green, which, to be honest, it works for this color because it's a very emerald kind of color. Overall, again, the green gets a huge pass for me because I do wear green from time to time. Take that, Michelle Visage. God, I'm a nitwit. So the final color I want to do for the eyeshadows especially is I'd like to have a look at this gold, which I've doubly named Golden Afternoon. So I'd like to have a look at Golden Afternoon and see how that performs. So I'm going to use the same finger. Ooh. Again, the gold is a really nice gold. You can just see it there, just under the green. Now, again, I love the color. It's gone on very metallic-y, which makes sense because it's a gold color. You cannot have a matte gold. But again, it went on very pigmented. The color looks amazing, very true to the pan. So overall, I kind of have to say the eyeshadows have impressed me so much, not only for the design of the box, but the color selection as well. It's brilliant. So overall, the eyeshadows, the top half anyway, they get a big, big pass from me because they just look good. I mean, I'm not exactly known for makeup or anything, but if you guys care about anything I have to say, then it's at least a start. So I'm gonna give my finger a wipe because I have some gold on here now. And then I'm gonna do a couple of colors from the bottom of the pan. So now I'm gonna move on to some colors from the bottom half of the palette. Now I'm quite interested to see what this orange kind of color looks like. This one here. Now it looks quite bronzish on the camera, but I can assure you it's quite a pastel sort of green. Green? Orange even. Go me. But it is quite a pastel looking orange. And that... There we go. That actually, oh, that looks like almost a peach color. So, it's just under the gold there. It does go on like a peach sort of color. It does look a lot darker on the pan, but it goes on as this lovely looking peach color, which I think could work quite well for a highlighter. Let me just, I'm gonna try something. I have no idea if I'm doing this right. I'm probably not. Nobody judge me. I've never done highlight before, so this may not look incredibly right. And if it does not, please don't tell me. I know for a fine fact I'm bad at this, at the complex stuff. I couldn't think of the word, but I'm learning. But overall, again, I'd really have to say, as a highlighter, it does its job because it looks good and the shine itself is really nice. It's not too shiny. Bear in mind I'm kind of stood right under my light here, so it may look a bit more shiny than it does, but on my arm, you know, it does its job. It's a good color. It may even work for eyeshadow, but I would maybe layer it and kind of do a gradient with another color. So overall, the orange gets a pass. Let's move on to the next one. So the last color that we're going to look at is this lovely sort of violet looking color. Now again, it does appear a little bit differently on my camera. That is because, I don't know, I may have to fix this in editing, but let me have a look-see. Oh, that's beautiful. How does that look as a highlighter? Okay, maybe not there for a highlighter, but let me show you guys the color on my arm. So the color itself, it is quite white. It looks almost a very light lavender color in the pan, but it goes on very white on my arm. Let me just pull that in. Which, to be honest, is a good thing because, again, it's very shiny, much like we saw with the orange. It's very shiny, very metallic, and above all, it does what it's supposed to do because I've kind of put a little bit on here, if you can't already tell, obviously. Overall, that gets a pass. That's brilliant. So I'm kind of going to move on to some final thoughts and basically decide, is it worth it, is it not? And above all, I really would say that each item that I have is worth it because the colors look good, the eyeshadow looks amazing, the highlighters as well. It's something that I could work with. As a complete beginner with this kind of makeup, it's something that I can definitely work with. Overall, I would have to say, if you guys are able to get a hold of it, then it's definitely worth a look into because the design of each item is beautiful, and that's not even everything. If you guys can find the body spray, I had a bit of a try of it in the shop. It smelled beautiful. So if you guys can get a hold of as much as you can, or as much as you want to, then again, it's definitely worth it. But above all, I really would say what sold me ultimately was the design of everything. Each item is very reminiscent to the Golden Afternoon scene, which is a very nice floral pattern, as you guys saw. Above all, if you can get it, give it a try. It may be something you can use. But with everything else said and done, that is about the time I have, no. So with everything else said and done, that is all the time I have for you guys today. If you want to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I will have all of my links down below. And if you guys feel like seeing a bit more of this kind of content, just generally me talking about weird stuff, I do a lot of cosplay related content. I'm looking to do generally fashion stuff as well as obviously explore some avenues of makeup as well. So if that's the kind of thing that you guys are interested in, please feel free to subscribe. It would be awesome if you could. And as well, throw some likes on the video and let's see how we can go from there. But until then, thank you all so much for watching and stay squishy. Keep it foxy. Womp womp. Oh, it was terrible.